Today's guest, what are we doing with the hands?
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your
Okay.
side. Yeah.
Today's guest, we have a former wide receiver from the University of Alabama, a two-time SEC champion, and he also has a ring. He's a national champion too. It's Mac Hereford. He's also a social media influencer. Find him on all social media, and I found him on Clubhouse. So we talked about how he became such a big influencer on social media. We talked about his college career, cool stories about Nick Saban, cool stories about his friends Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Tua. I can rattle off some more names that all play in the NFL. And I also learned a couple stories that honestly I couldn't even find on the internet. So why don't you sit back, relax, and take a listen to this nice interview with Mac and I. Let's get started. Today's guest, we got a two-time SEC champion, a national champion. He is a celebrity on Clubhouse. It's Mac Hereford. What's up, brother?
How we doing, Taylor? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude. This is a long time coming. I first was introduced to you on Clubhouse, but we'll get into Clubhouse in a minute. But I wanted to get through your career at Bama and how you started Alabama, because that's, it's everyone's favorite place to play. It's the best football college in the world. So I know you were a walk-on, but you have to tell me how the recruiting process was coming out of high school, because I know football and the recruiting process from high school to college is intense. It's serious. It's mentally draining. So take me through that whole process going in.
Yeah, so I went to a high school in Virginia called Woodbury Forest. It's a all boys boarding school. Crazy story how I ended up there. Just like my oldest brother, I'm in a big family. My oldest brother decided to go there randomly, and then I loved the school I was at in home in Alabama, but this school in Virginia, Woodbury Forest, had like a lot of opportunity, presented a lot of doors, opening a lot of doors, meeting a lot of new people, and seemed like the harder route to go, but the route that would, give me more opportunities and exactly where I wanted to be. And so decided to go there and played football. I did like literally freshman ball. Like I did, JV as a sophomore, junior, I was on varsity. So I did like the whole way through. I didn't like skip any levels of it.
Sure.
And I always, when I was younger, wanted to play at Alabama. That was like just my dream growing up in Alabama, being a huge fan, whole family, like my mom going there, my grandmother, grandfather, like all my aunts and uncles,
Sure.
all this. And so I guess that I knew I wanted to play college ball, and especially I guess Woodbury was a catalyst to really putting that into action, because I was around guys with, who were high achievers, guys who wanted to succeed at the next level. Because it's a boarding school, you're going to have a lot of athletes who are top in their sport from all over the country, all over the world. And I guess in high school, my junior year, I started driving myself to camps. My parents absolutely loved the way they kind of did my whole recruiting thing, which was, instead of where like you had these kind of parents who were at every game, all this stuff, they would come obviously from Alabama whenever they could. But for camps in the summer, when I was going to these like what you call satellite camps, which is, say, for example, I went to South Alabama satellite camp. It's where it's not like their main camp, but it's their a little feeder camp that you go to, that we're like more of the prospects are, rather than the kids coming just for like the whole get up type camp. So I was going to those college camps all over Alabama, driving myself to them, signing myself up and paying for them, junior year of high school. And then senior year comes around, had some weird situations with like some guys on our team. Someone got injured over the summer. They actually moved me to outside linebacker right before the season. I never played defense except in like rec league ball and a little bit in, freshman year. So I was like, holy cow, I've been training. We had a 4-star quarterback at the time. I was throwing with all the time. And I was like, or he's 5-star, 4-star, whatever, Lyndall Stone. Threw with him all that summer, all in the spring. Did really well in the spring game as a receiver. And I'm like, gosh, I'm having to do a position swap right here. Like, coach asked me if I was willing to do it. And like, it's hard to say no. I was like on our team's leadership committee and just like a lot of pressure.
Right.
So kind of just said, you know what, I'll do what's ever best for the team. Started out that season actually playing outside linebacker, but right before the beginning of the season, that guy was actually healthy. And coach is like, we actually need you wide receiver now. So I'm switching back. Have an interesting senior season. Could go on and on about like stuff that happened in high school football in the high school area, but specifically moving on to like recruiting, like you were talking about. It was a good process. I mean, it was fun. It was a learning process. A lot of people had their parents helping them, and other people they hire or whatnot. I really just kind of did it all on my own, which again, I'm thankful my parents did it that way because it's like if I really wanted it, I'm going to go get it.
Right.
So I was contacting coaches. I was like calling coaches, etc. And then I went to a camp. I guess it was that junior summer, and I went as a tight end rather than a wide receiver to Alabama's camp. And my quarterback, Lyndall Stone, who's at Virginia now, ended up coming to that camp as well, same time. And he was getting like recruited by Alabama. So they had him on like a field, and every time he would be like, Mac, get up here, whatever. And I would get up there and I would be at the tight end position because you have no pads. So it was like, for me, it was like a smart thing to do. Like, okay, if there's no pads, we're doing a lot of 7-on-7. I can do, this tight end stuff and burn these linebackers, like regardless of how highly recruited or whatnot. And was doing really well. I had like a one-handed catch that like from Lyndall, et cetera. And Bobby Williams, the special teams coordinator at the time, came up to me, was like, what's your name? Like blah, 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 like wrote my name down. And then they had a director of football operations come up to me, took my name, was like, we'd love for you to come to some games this year. And I was just sitting there like, this is wild. Like, holy cow, would have never expected this. And so there were teams like a lot of D3 schools reached out.
Sure.
I talked to some. I really, to me, it was the fact that they were interested, which made me feel good. And so I was like, I'd, talk to them. I'd consider it. But really, I think my mindset the whole time was Alabama. Even when, smaller D1 schools, D1 FCS schools were coming out and trying to offer me. It kind of was just always Alabama. And I don't know if I would ever I ever said that straight up, but everyone kind of knew at my school that's where I wanted to go. Went through that season and on breaks, they had me to games. Like I went for a game visit. They had a recruiting person come meet me at the entrance of Bryant-Denny, or like one of the gates, gate 27 actually. And unbelievable game experience. Like this person took me onto the field at the beginning of the game for warm-ups. Then took me back up into this like area with all the other recruits.
Sick.
We had food.
Yeah.
They bought you popcorn, water, like whatever, for that game experience, ton of fun. And then Coach Saban talked to us after and, would talk to different guys individually. And then I came back down for like an unofficial official, because they gave me a preferred walk-on spot, which, I guess at some schools it means something, some it doesn't. In Alabama, it actually meant like I didn't have to try out or anything like that. Like I'm coming in with scholarship guys. And I guess it's nice because they recruited me some, and I got that experience of coming down again and like getting a tour and, going into Bryant-Denny, going to all the practice facilities. And, those other schools, I would talk to those coaches, but again, like I said, I was kind of set on Alabama. And then when they made it, official and called me and were like, look, like, we're 100%. We really do want you to come here. We want you to play. We think you can make an impact. We think that you can get a scholarship in a certain amount of time. And like compared me to a guy at the time named Michael Nicewander,
Sure.
who was there. And I was like, look, I didn't even get off the phone. I was like, look, I'm coming.
I'm there.
I'm on my way.
There. Yeah, dude.
And then that was hysterical. Yeah. Just because my parents, I think I tweeted it or something, and some like Bama sites started like posting about all these articles, and my parents called me and they're like, are you sure this is real? And I'm like, yes. Like, what are y'all talking about? They're like, they had to call the coach themselves. I mean, it was
hilarious.
ridiculous.
Well, dude, man, you it's your story is so unique because you did it all on your own. It's not like you had no family and there was no one there to help you. You wanted to do it on your own. You manifested yourself. You're like, if I want this, I'm going to go and get it, and I'm going to do it myself. I appreciate my parents being there, but you don't hear this story that much. Where going into camps that seriously people are invited to, big name recruits, like you were saying, big name guys that are going to these D1 powerhouses. And then you show up, you got to have this little chip on your shoulders. Like, look, I'm doing all this shit by myself. That's got to be like the benchmark of your professional business career as well. Cause like it kind of shows people in the business world that like you can do it on your own and you can get the shit done. So that must have been super like a super proud moment for you when you put the pads on for the first time at practice. All the hard work, all the stuff on your own, your family's behind you, and you actually did it. I'm sure that must have been a absolutely like a breath of fresh air almost, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely was. It's interesting. I mean, I guess it's human nature, but it's kind of like when I got there, when I was kind of like, okay, I'm here at Alabama. This is pretty wild. Like, just thankful to be here. Give it like 4 days in, I'm like, okay, I'm here to play. Like,
That's
you know what I'm
right,
saying? Like,
man. Love
a lot
that.
of guys come in and like there's this like walk on mentality. You got some guys who come in and they're like, they're fine with just riding the wave. Which look, to those guys, like, I mean, a lot of those guys are some of my really good friends.
Sure.
I respect them. They're doing their job at practice, but they didn't have that want to like get out there. And I thought I could compete. Like I said, a couple days in, it was like I had new goals and new dreams and new aspirations. So I couldn't even get a breath of like, oh, this is awesome. I don't think I'd even like, honestly. I
Wow.
guess the first little couple of days maybe, but really it was just like my mind just reset and was like it, on to the next thing. And I was like, I can do this. I can do even more, and
Sure.
accomplish more. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it's again, I during the time I was like, told my parents, I was like, I wish y'all would do something like. They like call some coaches because these other parents are calling coaches. They're like literally getting their kids offers, and I'm going to like these combines or whatnot by myself, like trying to talk to coaches at my high
Sure.
school to drive me to them or whatnot. And like, but I'm so thankful for that because they just kind of laid the building blocks of just what it means to work hard and really want something, and just put those things, in front of me, and just showed me like love and encouragement and just support. And it's like that which made me able to accomplish those things. And like,
Sure.
I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Well, it's a huge character trait. Look, I've known you for about a month or two, right? On Clubhouse. First time actually seeing your face in person. And I'm hearing more stories about you and your character. You are a go-getter. You will get it done, however, in what way possible. If I'm going to get what I want, I'm going to achieve my goal, I'm going to get it. And I'm sure Saban and the rest of the staff and your players and your other teammates love that about you because from what I've seen, you are a leader. And I know you weren't a starter, you weren't, the Henry Ruggs or the Jerry Judys of the world, right? But I'm sure you were one of the leaders that guys went to for on or off the field issues or personal things, whatever. I'm sure that am I correct?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed that a lot too. Like I just love that, that's part of the one of the reasons I love the sport of football. But yeah, absolutely. There's guys I had relationships with off the field. Really, all of my I loved all of my teammates. But
Sure.
I would consider myself a leader. I don't really like to say like, oh, I'm a leader or whatnot. But there's guys who definitely, would probably say that like I had an impact in that kind of way, or when I walked in the locker room, or the standard I tried to hold, whether it be like keeping the locker room clean, or sticking after to help the janitors do something, or just treating people with respect. Like a lot of the staff, that was one of the main things. Is just like showing that, like like everyone is there, everyone's trying to work hard, and everyone's a crucial part of the program, regardless of their player, coach, janitor, and like nutritionist. But so yeah, I tried to lead by example a lot in that way, and just be the best teammate I could be. So I definitely enjoyed that. And yeah, guys, definitely, I still talk to some of the guys today who are still there,
Sure.
help them with some stuff. So
I mean, you got to play with some of the best players in Bama history. I'm telling you. I mean, you know what am I saying? You fucking know already. Like, you got Henry Ruggs, you got Jerry Jeudy, Josh Jacobs, Tua, Jalen Hurts, your boy Mac Jones. I mean, like you have a bunch of guys that you've played with. If it's either the quarterback side, wide receiver side, tell me a story. I know there's millions of them, but tell me one of your favorite stories, one of those guys, or maybe a player I didn't mention over your 4-year career at Bama.
That's a toughie. Yeah, let me think. There's a ton of good stories. Um, I would say one, and I've told it to some people before, but just one of the stories I love about somebody that kind of just expresses or shows who they are. It's the reason I had so much faith in him this year when he was at Alabama as Mac Jones. Is you have a guy who comes in, and I tweeted a picture a while back, and he looks like a twig. Like he literally looks like he should not be. I mean, I
Yeah, I
was
saw
a
that photo. I saw
preferred
that.
walk
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is a scholarship guy. It looks like he's not even in 10th grade yet. But he comes in there, and
Right.
we immediately have a good friendship just off the bat. Like I was a huge field rat in high school. Like whether it be like the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like in the mornings throwing. Like I'm throwing with the quarterback. I love quarterbacks. Like any quarterback, they're like my best friend. I just with their personalities, not only that, but like also just with being loving to catch. Like I absolutely love it. So Mac Jones and I became friends really early when he came on campus, and we're throwing all the time. Like all the time, we're throwing. Go do community service together, whatever it was. Like we were always like hanging out. And then as the years go on, like we continued to bond, continue to throw. In the spring game into my sophomore year, into that year spring, I got to start in the spring game, and he was the quarterback, and like we were pumped, like that was everything to us, and
Right.
we won that, ended up winning that game, and ton of fun, but Mac had continued to keep going. And just like he was never this guy, no one ever expected him or thought of him as like the number one guy. It was always Tua, Jalen, whatever it may be. Mac Jones was just sitting back there grinding. And as he's doing that, he's getting a little bit bigger. He's getting a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. And his throwing ability, he's having to throw with the scout team, like, the guys like me and some of the other guys who there's some good players down there. And there's a lot of scholarship guys who play scout team. But these DB, you're playing against the first team DBs. So guys are not always getting open. Like the defensive line's getting to you early. You're having to go through that mentally every single day. It could be like very, bad on your mental health or confidence because you're not really getting to win a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're out
Right.
there. He's not getting to win. He's not completing all these passes. But I talked to him about it and stuff all the time, and like other guys talking to him, and he just didn't back down. It wasn't going to stop him, and he absolutely loved it. He loved to compete. I love the way he can, like, we used to compete on the practice field. Absolutely awesome. Like, make a great play, gets hype about it. He could be a little emotional back in the day. And then fast forward to the Michigan game when he comes in. It's the first game I think he like officially started too. We know was out for the season. It's the Peach Bowl. Not first game he officially started. Never mind. Take that back. But just one of them. And we're in this big bowl game. And he played in the Auburn game, Tennessee game that year, so like some of the other games or whatever. But he gets out there, and it's like I can't remember what quarter, but he takes the ball and he's back in the pocket, and he just absolutely throws a dime of a ball,
Right.
extremely far. And right after that, he gets absolutely rocked. And I'm telling you, like, I was like, oh my God, is this guy going to be okay? Like, holy, like, we might be at our third string quarterback right now in this game, would not be good. But no, like Mac Jones gets up off the ground quick. He stands up, like he looks at the sidelines. He wipes off his jersey.
That's what I'm
And
talking
then
about,
he's got a tag right here that's like the Citrus Bowl or Orange Bowl. Okay, I mix it up, whatever bowl game we were playing in. The tag or the patch is kind of like a little bit ripped off, and he just rips it off completely and throws it on the ground. And I'm like, this guy right here, like that's freaking Mac Jones.
Dude, that doesn't fire you up, dude. That fires everybody up. Dude, that's sick.
I mean, there's a friend of mine, Pierce Quick, who was a offensive lineman. He was a freshman that year, and we're sitting there and we're like, dude, what the hell just happened? Like this guy is a warrior. And so that's a story I guess I love to tell because it's just it shows who he is, you know, like he's a unbelievable quarterback, but he didn't get that, you know, most of the time these guys are coming in, they're 5 stars, whatever, you know, he didn't get that like placed in, you know, in the seat of being the starter. He didn't get like to walk his way into that. And it wasn't like it was just a little battle. He had to work his tail off year after year after year. And he used it to just build who he is today. And now he's just this like baller. Like he's a freaking baller. Like
Now he's in a full draft now. Look at
yeah,
him,
and
you know?
exactly.
His story was so unique because when I was watching him in the bowl game this past year, they told the story about how hard he's worked. You know, it's like Jalen Hurts, like the guy's a legend at Bama, right? Did he have the best success? Jalen Hurts, not at the end of his career, wasn't, but the guy was elite when it comes to quarterbacks at Bama. And then you have Tua, and it's like, can Mac catch a break? I heard stories. I don't know if you can maybe confirm this, but he did feel some doubts from time to time. Like, am I ever going to throw the ball at Bama? And then he gets the shot and he absolutely tears it up this past season. Where I personally, for me, I'm a Sooners fan. My dad's from Oklahoma. Bama's kicked Oklahoma's ass over the past couple of years. So, congrats to you guys. But the thing is that like he finally got his chance and he delivered. And it's like, you know, you got to just when it comes to, you have to take advantage, and he did. And just telling you, hearing that story from you, it just sounds like he was always up for the challenge, no matter what obstacle was in front of him, and he absolutely took off. But my last thing about some of your teammates, you know, your wide receiver, you were around some elite ones, you know, Devontae Smith, and you were around Ruggs and Jerry Judy. What did you learn from them when it comes to the game of football and route running and catching? Because those guys are in the NFL now, or Smith will be in the NFL soon. But I'm just saying, like, what did you learn from them when you were at practice or in the training room, recovery room, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for years. I could write a book about what all these guys taught me. But the thing I look for the most and I appreciate the most and just kind of held on to, I guess I could say, is the hard work, no matter how good you are. Because we look at places like you hear about schools that are top in the country, whether it be in basketball, football, tennis, whatever sport it may be, and these guys just being absolute ballers and you know,
Right.
whatever team it may be. And a lot of times people are like, that guy's so naturally gifted. And yes, like a lot of times they are, especially at Alabama, these guys are extremely naturally gifted. But it was incredible to see guys like Jerry Judy, Henry Ruggs, you know, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. When we go through drills, like warm up drills, like or you know, like we would do
Yeah.
a couple of drills before we do our
Probably
like
insane.
flex, like
Yeah.
our flex, which is like our like warm up stretch, like run through high knees, etc. And then we go into indie, like individual stuff. And it's supposed to be done full speed or whatnot, but it's kind of getting you ready for the rest of practice. We'll work on wide receiver, like fundamentals. These guys are going through this thing like 120%. And it could be fall camp, 100 and like feel like 120 degrees. We're sweating. There's a picture of like me, Schmitty, and some other guys. We got our helmets off. We're like, our faces are red. We got our hands on our hips, like we're dying. But they didn't stop. And there was no, the standard of excellence that Coach Saban held, unbelievable. We didn't have guys going like, hey, like Coach Saban, my ankle hurts, you know, can I get out, you know, of this drill, or going to a trainer and saying that. We had guys taped up with like fake hamstring things who had like torn like, you know, not to that extent, but ridiculous like
Right.
stuff going on. And it was like, no, it doesn't matter. It's like, you're going to work and you're going to work you know, the hardest you can possibly work. And it wasn't like we were forcing guys to do that or getting guys being like, hey, like you got to work harder. You know, you might always have an occasional guy like that, but these guys like Jerry Judy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Waddle, no, like they are grinding, absolutely like killing themselves, would never take a rep off. And so that was the, you know, the hard work part of it was the biggest thing. And again, I could go on for details and
Sure.
details of route running mechanics and stuff like that, because they have all that and they did help a lot with that. But when you're like taking one big thing from them, that's the biggest thing I would say take away from all those guys is just their hard work and determination.
Well, it just sounds like they're just not human. You know, it doesn't sound like they're human beings. And I guess that's the Bama way, right? It's the Bama difference where they You get guys like you and other players that can push themselves to the brink of exhaustion, right? Which I think is
Mhm.
absolute difference. But now you're done at Bama. Actually, I want to just talk about ending one more question with Bama. National champion, dude. Like that's got to be the sickest thing on the planet, winning the national title and winning 2 SEC championships. When you see clocks and confetti's coming down, what is going through your mind, knowing that you're going to have a ring on that finger?
Yeah, um, it's hard to really like I have issues like sometimes explaining or like describing like certain feelings. That's one of them. It's like this thing, like the first time I ran out of the tunnel, for example, or put on my jersey. Something you can almost put into words. But I just remember, first of all, it was the Georgia game. It was the game that Tua threw the absolute dime of a pass.
Dime piece, dude. You can't
But
get better
like
than that.
it was just this. Imagine like you're pouring, I guess, like water into a bowl, and like
Right.
the water is all your hard work, and you're just continuously pouring and pouring. You're emptying your tank. You're like, oh my gosh, like is it ever gonna fill up? And then that bowl just eventually just flooding over. All that joy and emotion and like everything you put in all in this one thing
Wow.
just coming together like all at once. And I there's a picture I'm in the background of it, like doing like the number one running across the field. Like Damian Harris is like kind of close. We're just going nuts because it felt amazing, but it almost felt like at the same time sounds weird. Like as happy as I was and everything, like we earned it. Like, and I know
Fuck
a
yeah,
lot of
dude.
teams can say the same thing, but like
Yeah.
like we just grinded and grinded and grinded. And just to see my teammates so happy and see the success pay off, like again, it's hard to explain. I really need to work on figuring out the words to explain the exact feeling, but it's something I'll never forget. And like I can just literally remember step by step, like getting up, grabbing my helmet, like the certain steps I was making, everything, and just celebrating with all the guys is unbelievable.
Well, it's funny how you say you can't describe it. It's hard for you to talk about it. I mean, that's pretty normal, to be honest with you, man. The fact that it's something so special to you that you can't even find the words to it, that tells me everything. That it's a moment you've been dreaming of your entire life, wanting to play at Bama since you were a kid. You finally get to walk out of the tunnel, helmet in your hand, that crimson tide jersey on, and then you win the one thing that your entire team has worked all year for. You just explained it right there. You don't need to tell me word for word or your exact emotions. The fact that you can't even describe it tells me everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly like people will ask me because the first time it was a home game my freshman year, and I'm seeing my jersey with my name on it, like the first home game of the year or whatever, and I'm like,
Right.
holy cow, like this is all coming to fruition. It's a pretty beautiful thing. It's like yeah, it's indescribable.
Dude, it's crazy. Now you're done at Bama and now you're going on to Vandy at Vanderbilt. Get this correct with people here. You are going to play at Vanderbilt. You're also getting your degree in marketing. Tell me what happened and why aren't you not playing at football at Vanderbilt? You can tell me as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I'm moving around. I'm trying to like get a little bit comfortable. So yeah, so I graduated Alabama. I played there for 4 years. Absolutely loved it. Unbelievable experience. But there was a part of me that was like, I I want to, and I'm not looking in hindsight, maybe I should have stayed another year. But at the same time, I was like, it just kind of, I'd been there for so long. I felt I'd paid my time, and I lived that experience that I wanted to live. And so I wanted to move on and really play somewhere.
Sure.
Decided to end up going to into the transfer portal. First team that reached out, Vanderbilt, SEC. Unbelievable school, And so I'm thinking like, wait, if I can get a master's at this place at Vanderbilt, one of the top schools in the whole entire country for academics, while getting an opportunity to play, like that's what I want to do. And so talked to them a little bit over quarantine. I was training with a guy named Devlin Hodges or Duck Hodges,
Sure,
who
of
played.
course.
Yeah,
The
he's a
Steelers.
heck of
Yeah,
a guy. We were grinding in quarantine, getting kicked off fields, having to find different fields to go to, when everything was like, tough, like really tough during COVID. And I hadn't really decided, but then I FaceTime Coach Mason, who was the former head coach at Vanderbilt, had FaceTime me like, 2 times, and I was talking to the wide receiver coach, and I was just like, they want me. Like it's clear these people, they want me, and there's some great people, and I was like, you know what, like, heck, I'm gonna give it a shot. Little did I know how hard it would be just in COVID to one do the whole transfer process. I had to get into the school, but obviously football probably helped some. And then got there and was training. And it's like these little things at Alabama that I got so comfortable with, like the warming up for practice, the stretches we do, the weight room protocols, like all these things that are second nature that I could just go in Alabama and feel so comfortable in every lift. I didn't realize, this is a reset. I'm at a whole different school. And so learning how they warm up at Vanderbilt, like some stuff I knew how to do, but it doesn't even come to athletic ability. It's more of just like doing it over and over. So I just get anxious. Like I was anxious at, morning runs, morning practices, where to be. I didn't know the names of different buildings. And, grad transfers were a little older. So like they kind of expect, for you to know some stuff.
sure.
And just kind of they put most of the focus on the freshmen and younger guys, and so that was tough, but I kept on pushing. I absolutely loved the guys, the teammates at Vanderbilt, some unbelievable people. And fall camp comes around, absolutely loved fall camp. Coach Fitch, the offense coordinator, unbelievable guy, had a really cool offensive system, and but again, it was tough. And Vanderbilt's protocols were very, very strict. Some
Sure.
schools handled it differently. Vanderbilt was really strict. So at times it didn't even necessarily feel like the football that I loved, although I still loved it because it's football. At the end of the day, if you love football, you're going to play it in any conditions.
Right.
Uh, but then near in the beginning of the season, I start having some hamstring issues. Actually, in the warm-ups of a game, just like that, and my
Ugh,
hamstring just, I was like, okay, do I just, I didn't really want to tell anyone about it. I put on a sleeve, but it was absolutely killing me post game. I couldn't even do anything. Like I couldn't go. We weren't really allowed to go out or anything like that. But like go see some of my teammates or hang out with them after game, I couldn't do that. Like I literally went straight to my, apartment. I put on ice, and it was killing me. Like it hurt so bad. I was in a lot of pain. And so yeah, I found out that I injured my hamstring, and this is the very beginning of the season. And so I'm then having to rehab for like 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm thinking, okay, like 2 weeks has gone by. Like this is gonna get better. Like, like this is, I've gotta be like somewhere close. I've never had a soft tissue injury. And then I had my grandmother passed away. And I can't really, I had to go to the funeral via Zoom, which is like just a weird thing. And like I really wanted to be with my family. But my dad was, and my parents and I were talking, and just how much she wanted me to be at Vanderbilt, and everything like that, and be here for this last season. So I actually spoke at her funeral on Zoom, and then goes by like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I'm still rehabbing my hamstring, and I'm just kind of out of it. I'm going every morning to get this done. I'm working extremely hard to get it back, but it's just not, their training staff is unbelievable, and doing everything possible. And I'm listening to all these different things, but it's just like mentally and physically, I'm not doing it. Like I'm trying to go out there and, work on doing routes or something, and it's not there. And then my grandfather on my mom's side passed away. And, like those 2 weeks later, and I'm like, well, shit, like this sucks. And in perspective, my life's amazingly blessed. I you know, understand that a lot of people would want to be in my shoes and the place or situation I'm in. But for me personally, it was tough. Like I was already enduring a lot of pain and loss, and hadn't really even sunk in from the first loss I had. And then my grandfather passes, and extremely close to both of them. So it's like, it made the whole situation really, really hard. And with my hamstring, I'm like, okay, so let's see if I go back for a funeral or go to see my family because I need to see my family. I'm going to come back and have to quarantine for 2-3 weeks, and still don't know if my hamstring is going to be 100%. And so it's like at that point, the season's almost over. Is it necessarily worth it? And I prayed about it, talked to my family about it, and just thought, you know what, like at this point, it's probably going to be best for me to go see my family. So I ended up opting out, going to see my family, and being with them, and then coming back and trying to continue doing school and train as well.
You did something really hard for you personally. You ended something that you loved so much because you wanted to be with your family. I applaud you for that. I'm so sorry for your loss. And for people to recognize an athlete going through, look, all of us during COVID had a tough time. I can't think of many people that had an okay time during COVID, right? But for athletes, it was especially hard. You had guys that it was their senior season and it gets canceled and they can't play their final year. That's hard. Or guys like yourself who get hurt, and it's like you can't just go home and come right back and start rehabbing. You gotta do two week waiting period, and that sets you back another 2 weeks of rehab. Then you have to go add another couple weeks onto it. So for you to make the decision that family is first before your passion and your love for football, I applaud you for that, man. That is a tough thing, a tough decision, and yeah, good on you, man. That is really tough, man.
I appreciate it. It's been it definitely wasn't easy. It's definitely left me in kind of a funk after it. But just continuing to figure things out, and
Sure.
realize that, like you're saying, like there's things more important than, even if I absolutely love the game of football, I can't tell you how much, but
Right.
there's things that are more important. And it's just like, I don't know, it was just one thing after the other. It's like, okay, having to deal with this first loss, continuing, I can do this. Injury kicks in, like, okay, there's two things, but I still love this game. I'm not willing to give up. I can do this. And then it's like at a certain point, then you get this other loss, and it's like, is it really at this point versus like I can do this, or really what's best? Like what's best for me personally? And that's when I had to decide, what, it's not like giving up, because I get this image in my head that it's like, oh, I'm giving up if I don't, you
No,
know.
man, you didn't give
Um
up, dude. Come on,
oh,
stop with that.
absolutely.
Stop
Yeah.
with that.
No, but that's something I had to like figure out. And then when I
Sure.
came to that conclusion, like, okay, yeah, this is not, then that's what I did was best for me. And obviously right now, again, it's left me in it's been a whole weird rest of the year, but I'm thankful I got to see my family, and just I know later on I'll appreciate the things and decisions I made today.
You made a great decision, and you also had an unbelievable career to begin with. I mean, you played at Alabama for God's sakes, right? No, not many people can say that. But to get to right now, where I met you was Clubhouse. You are a Clubhouse influencer, celebrity, whatever you want to call it, and I don't want to hear it, dude. You're in every room. Everyone loves you. What was the reason you joined Clubhouse? Because I see you're big on TikTok, you're big on the gram, you're big on Twitter. Was it for networking purposes, or was it for uh just for fun? And for people at home that don't know what Clubhouse is, get on it. I mean, Matt can tell you, get on it. It's a great time if you want to network or you want to have some fun. It's perfect. But tell me, like, what was the decision behind joining Clubhouse, and when did you do it? I think you did it in January, or
January. Yeah.
yeah,
So, I have a friend, Will Weinbach, who's on there, who told me about it like kind of a little while back. Was like, you got to get on this app. I'm like, okay, like, I'm busy, but sounds cool. And then a girl I've been helping out and I work for kind of with music, named Bailey Coates. She's from Birmingham, Alabama, a pop artist. And she told me, she's like, hey, look, I'm going to send you an invite for this. I think you should definitely get on. Would love for you to check it out, and tell me what you think. Maybe we can come up with some ideas to utilize it and strategize. And so I said, okay, shoot me over the invite or whatnot. And jumped in, and like literally no one really told me what was going on. It's just kind of like this. I, my friend Will invites me in this room. It's like 400 people talking about social media, how to build your brand. And he like brings me up on stage. And then here I am, like on my first day, talking to 400 whatever people about
Sure.
how to utilize TikTok, how to brand yourself on TikTok. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. And I enjoyed doing it. And then like as time went on, it's like, okay, there's more than just these like Instagram and social media secrets rooms. There's actually rooms talking about sports. So I started kind of making some sports rooms. I wanted to connect with some people in that field. And I don't know like what the skill would be or quality, but I found that I enjoyed and had some skill at being able to create spaces where people felt comfortable talking about different things or who they were, but
Right.
also with some sense of structure and ability to like move the conversation from one thing to the next without having any kind of you know ill intention for myself or getting anything for myself of like, look, this conversation is going to get me this or this thing is going to get me this. I really just truly loved starting up conversations and then helping people get a voice, like who had a voice. Like obviously I'll chime in
Sure.
occasionally or whatnot, but
Right.
I think that's like one of the key things that I really loved is like I could start something from just my heart, who I am, and really respect others and love others. And if I'm doing it out of love and respect and start these spaces, then they just tended to fill up, and like people came in, and I guess I don't know, like I started to whatever, just be in all kinds of different
Dude,
rooms.
because your rooms are
Um,
funny as hell, man. I gotta say, dude. I mean, you have the Game Changers room. You founded that one. You have the Alabama Football Club. You founded that one. But the shoot your shot rooms, dude. That's what I was like. I think that was my first like big room I was in, and I saw you and a bunch of other moderators on. I was like, there was like I don't know 600-700 people in there. I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? Like shooting your shot in general is already tough already, but do it in front of a bunch of people, and I did it. And I was laughing. It's and it's what's the beauty of Clubhouse. You can put yourself on mute, and in the background you can be like this, like super cringed out of your mind because like some of like the mood, like the shoot your shot methods that some of these dudes do, or these women do, or whatever. It is just sometimes some of them are awful, and it just makes me laugh. But I think that's one of the coolest things about Clubhouse is that you have rooms for business, or you have shoot your shot rooms, or you have rooms about NFTs, which that's like half of Clubhouse to begin with. And now you're getting celebrities like I know Blau is huge on it, and Gronk was just on it the other day, and Scooter Braun's on it, and you're getting other athletes too. But do you see Clubhouse staying as big as it is when kind of things start getting back to normal? We can actually individually meet each other and go hang out at bars and so forth.
yeah, so it's a good question. It's something that I ask myself a lot, and a lot of people talk about. I don't even know if you've noticed. I haven't been on much at all in the past, probably like 7 days or
Are
whatnot.
you drained?
Um, I wouldn't say drained from Clubhouse, more of just got a lot going on in life. So it's like I'm
True.
trying to figure out different things, whether it be like personal stuff, family stuff, school,
Sure.
job, whatever, all these different directions. And so it's like I realize like I got to kind of focus up on these things and figure them out. I got to stop spending so much time on Clubhouse. I think that audio apps like it, and I think Clubhouse as well will continue to be something. I don't
Sure.
know if they'll ever hit mainstream. And the reason why I had a good conversation about it with someone is the same way that like, TikTok, it's massive. It feels like it's everywhere, and it could be considered mainstream, I guess, but like, yeah, for sure. But it's like at the same time, there's still a bunch of people that are not on TikTok. There's still a demographic. So I think you're gonna have a certain demographic on Clubhouse. I think that in any audio apps like that in the future, you're gonna have people who want to network. You're gonna have people who want to talk, communicate. That's gonna be something that people always want, regardless if we're able to see each other or not. And it
Sure.
gives a little bit more comfortability because you're not doing it through Instagram or TikTok where you're seeing these videos or more picture focused or whatever. This is directly off your voice, which usually shows a little bit about who you are. Now, there's some people who obviously can do a good job of putting on a facade or whatever it may be with
Sure.
their voice, but for the most part, it comes from your voice, and people don't really necessarily look at your achievements and all this and stuff as much as they do like how was this conversation, like how is this person valuing the conversation. um but again, we could talk on for I could go down the rabbit hole
I know you
on
can, dude. I know.
Clubhouse, but I think that it will be a thing. I think it'll continue to be a fun app and grow and keep growing.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely addicted. I would say the first like 3 weeks, I was like, dude, I'm out. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what am I doing? That's the bad thing. You can be on the app for freaking hours and not even know it. It just flies by. I've met some
Yeah.
cool people on. I've met some people from that live in New York that we're all going to meet up in like the next couple of months and go all hang out. But I think that's also a great thing. But to end this interview, I have a game that I play with my guests. I need you to get your phone out. I'm going
All
to be
right.
DMing you on Instagram. Some photos that you post on Instagram, we're taking a deep dive into some photos, and then you're going to tell me some stories about them. All right.
All right.
And then we're doing 3 of them. So it's to be 3 different stories. Let's see if my internet now starts to work. So yeah, it's about, all right, here we go. So you will see a DM from me, and then you're going to tell me the story about it. So the first one is this one. On May 17th, 2019, you posted this photo with you and Gary V. Tell me about the whole story. Like, how did you get the opportunity to sit down with Gary V, which I know is almost impossible to do with his busy schedule? And what did you guys talk about?
Yeah. So the whole story of like how I got there is pretty long, and I'll tell you about it sometime. But basically, just worked hard. So like I found out who he was. He came and spoke to Alabama's football team. I made some moves talking to one of his assistants. Then
Sure.
reaching out email, via, etc. We got on a Zoom call. He ended up like talking to me and was like, if I could get you up to New York, I'd love to give you some type of like internship opportunity. And I said, look, like he was like, and the problem is just getting you up here. How's that going to work, et cetera? And I was like, look, you give me the opportunity, I'm going to be there. Like I'll crawl. I don't care what it is,
Right.
and just like kind of just speaking. And he was like, okay. He's like, done. He's like, you're coming. He's like, I'm going to figure it out. He's like, you said exactly what I wanted you to say. And that whole process was a little bit longer, but yeah. So then I ended up going up there for a week, was in New York for a week and just hanging out with Team Gary, getting to meet members of his team, sit in on just different conference meetings between different employees, and just kind of see how the whole thing went and really get to just hang out and vibe with the people in his office. And then got to meet with him as well, which was a crazy cool experience and I had a lot of fun doing. And just tons of respect for him and the way he runs, his business is, everything is group. This is his staff. They love to be there. Everyone's just engaged, fired up all the time. And it was a pretty crazy experience. It was once in a lifetime. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Gary Vee's a cool guy. I've never met him, but just listening to his podcasts or his videos, he seems like a great personality. The second one here, this one, you mentioned what it was like to be on the team. You mentioned what it was like getting coached by him. But this photo in particular is a photo of you and Nick Saban when you were a child, and then you as an adult with Nick Saban. You posted this on December 9th, 2019. You said time flies. The relationship with you and Nick, what was that like? And I want to hear a story because I know the guy's a hard ass. He's a great coach, but I've heard these good stories that are like, it's very hard to hear from other people that he's a good guy and he's all this, he's a great coach, he's a father figure. But what was the relationship between you two? As you can see, you guys met early on in your life and now you ended up playing for him.
Yeah, so I went to the Nick Saban football camp the very first year it started. Um, went to all those camps, made on the all Saban team or whatnot. And Coach Saban didn't know who I was at that time or anything. I was
Right.
just a little fan, a little hard worker at the camps or whatnot. And then get to the point of being a player, and then that process. I would love to say, oh, we're like best friends, but in reality, there's not many players who are super close to Saban. He has guys that like are throughout the years, so like Minka Fitzpatrick. He watched film with Coach Saban. They were close. I'd say Tua, Jalen, guys who really developed that really good, deep relationship with him. But in a way, the way he does it is, I respect him and he cares and he's awesome because he really does look out for each individual. I believe that. I think with post ball, with anything, he really does look out for these guys and wants to develop us into good men. Um, but the reason he's not so close to each guy, like we could say, hey, I would see him in the hallway of the complex. What's up, Coach Saban? Like, how you doing, Mac, etc. Knows like all the guys' names for the most part. But the way he does his process is like, you have these players coaches, you have these coaches who are friends with the players, always want to know what the players are doing, cool with them, dapping them up all the time, etc., which I think is awesome. And I kind of wanted that at sometimes while I was at Alabama. But the way he does it, in which people think, it might be all mean or whatever. No, he's just invested into this process that he knows is going to create success and create good, young men for the future. And that makes it so that he has to be this guy who's kind of up here. He's like this, essentially like a manager of the team, of the whole entire business, if you put it into a business perspective. And you have these like other coaches, the position coaches, those are the guys who are having really personal relationships with us, getting to know us. And he puts his values onto them and tells them things that he wants, the guys to know. And so, and Coach Saban would talk to us before practices, special teams meetings, team meetings, etc. And he's always on the field chewing people out, hysterical. Like the things he used to say are, absurd. It's freaking awesome. But I've always loved those kind of coaches, and just he's hard on guys, and he requires a standard. No matter who you are, you got to do things the right way, and treat people right. And yeah, he just that. So my relationship was, obviously it was my coach, but it's not like I'm like buddy with him or anything like that. I wish I knew him better. But I realized there was a reason for that, why he does that and does things that way.
Well, that's why he's had all these national championships, and he's the best coach of all time in college football. Last one here, you posted this on November 28th, 2019. It is with your entire family on the field with Nick Saban. I want to say this is your senior day. I want to correct me if I'm wrong, because it just seems like it is. Your family means so much to you. You said it before. What did it mean for this photo? Like, what did it mean to be on the field with you, wearing the jersey with Coach?
Yeah, so it was pretty unbelievable. There's one person even in my family that was, so that's, you got my brother Patrick, my brother Billy, my brother Faulkner, my mom, my dad, my sister Madeline, and then another brother who's not even in the picture, whose name is Kevin, who is from Cameroon, Africa, who has kind of just been brought into our family over the years. Went to Woodbury High School. Sorry, all that backstory. So like that, just I love, he's awesome. I wish he was there as well. But in this picture is my blood family, and all of us have our own things. I'm the youngest, and everyone is everywhere. My sister's doing this. My other brother's living in Charlotte. Another brother's living in South Carolina. Like, we're all over the place. And there's not many times, when you have a big family like that, you want to be with your family, and we try to do it as best as we can. But there's not like all these things that bring everyone together all the time, whether it be like an award like ceremony, banquet, etc. But the thing that was so awesome about that is like, I'm not gonna lie, we were just having fun. Like, I ran out on the field. These other people, were all like sit up straight, like with their family, like ready, waiting, because Coach Saban's coming down the lot. Like, my brothers and I were like punching each other. Like, we're like, one of my brothers is grabbing my ball that has like all this stuff on it from the game. It's got all this paint. It's like really nice. He's like trying to pass it to me, like handing it to one of my other brothers. Like, people are probably like, what is this family doing? But I absolutely loved it. And it was being around this group of people that supported me my whole entire life, who each and every one of them has something about them that is extremely like just invaluable, I guess is the word. And they're all just unbelievable. Like, they love me, and they've been the best siblings that you could ever ask for, as well as my parents, just like unbelievable parents. And so being with everyone out there at the same time, it's like, I could, Alabama football, amazing. All these accomplishments, amazing. But like, this is what I love right here. Like, my family out here on the field together. And then it was just cool, obviously, for them to get to meet Coach Saban, and him to take a picture with us. But, and all the fans, all that in that moment, all the craziness, like, it was just fun just being with my family at the end of the day and having something that brought us all together. And that they cared about me enough to be there for that, since they have all these other things to do. So I absolutely loved that moment. And it was, it was just a ton of fun.
Well, you got a former national champion, a hard worker, and a family man. It's Mac Hereford. Mac, dude, Thanks for coming on. Plug your socials, plug Clubhouse, plug your clubs. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. I mean, yeah, I'm on Instagram, and Twitter is Mac MAC_HEREFORD. And then on TikTok is just MACHEREFORD. I'm on Clubhouse, really just all over the place. Triller, just random different apps.
You're on Triller? That's sick. That's funny.
Yeah. You just look up Mac and my last name, it'll go up, but happy to connect with anyone. And, Taylor, again, I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome, dude. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it. Hold on. I know you just watched that video. It's pretty good because you watched the whole thing. You made it this far. Just click that subscribe button. It's not that hard. I know you watched some other things, but was it as good as this? I don't think so, since you watched the whole thing. You enjoyed it. I know you did. You're nodding your head right now, and it's like, yeah, I enjoyed it, Taylor. I like it. I want to watch more. Click the button.